Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I thank each member of the panel for being here today and sharing your testimony with us. Ms. Eberly and Mr. Bland, I was going to direct my first question to you. It was going to be on Operation Choke Point. But I'm just going to, I probably won't have time to get to that. I just wanted to alert you that I will be either in follow-up or in the hearing discussing with you the implementation of Operation Choke Point and frankly whether it's appropriate for federal regulatory agencies in the financial world to be utilizing the regulatory system to, in what I view, target business models that are not supported by the administration. And I know that each of you have taken actions to try to correct that issue and perception, and I just want to tell you from what I'm seeing it's not working yet. But I'm not going to give you a chance to talk with me about that right now. What I want to talk about right now is the bigger question of the Agrippa review. As each of your agencies have said that you're engaged, I know that you're now engaged in a new review. And the issue that I want to raise with you is whether we can make this real. I'm going back to the 2004-2006 review that we did 10 years ago. And at that time, Senator Shelby was the chairman of this committee. He assigned me as one of the more junior members of the committee the opportunity to be the lead on developing the legislative response to the Agrippa review. And for those of you who were involved at that time, you'll remember we got extensively involved. All of the agencies were reviewing, providing information to us from the input and the analysis they were doing. We engaged with those in the private sector who were also making recommendations and so forth. We were creating lists and charts. I think we had on our list 180 or more items of potential legislative action that was needed to help reduce the regulatory burden on community banks. And then there was another long list of actions that could be taken by the regulators themselves without Congress's activity. And the reason I go through that with you is I was pretty discouraged by the outcome. We did pass some legislation, and we passed some legislation that did some really good things. But in the context of what we could have done, I think we got just mostly low-hanging fruit. I was reading the response to your current effort from the ICBA, which sort of makes the same point. They refer back to the earlier Agrippa action and said that so little came of it, both at the regulatory and at the congressional level, that many in the industry felt like it was sort of a check-the-box experience where they're going through another regulatory requirement to do a regulatory review, and we'll do it, and we'll have all these issues identified, and we won't have resolution put into place. And I'm using up most of my time explaining my question here to you, but my question is, how can we make it real this time? I want to give you one specific example. Last time, in 2004 and 2006, one of the items on our list that we were not able to do was the annual privacy exemption that we're talking about today that everybody seems to be in agreement with. That was on our list. It was one of those we couldn't get done because there was an objection, and I won't go into where the objection came from, but the point is, it was as though unless we had consensus from everyone involved, we couldn't get the political agreement to move forward on a fix. And somehow, both at the regulatory level and at the congressional level, we need to get by that this time. We do not want another tepid Agrippa process. And I would just like to ask those of you who can, in the minute that's left out of my question, and we'll start with you, Ms. Eberly, to just respond to that generally. Are you committed, and will you work on putting together a process that will generate outcomes rather than just lists this time?
So yes, we are very committed, and I think that all of the agencies are committed to the process. We're working together through the FFIEC. We just 2 weeks ago closed the comment period on the first round of regulations that we issued for comment. They covered international operations, powers and activities, and applications and reporting. And we did get some comments, not a lot. We hope that we'll get more in the future, but we're still open for comments as well. We're going to have outreach sessions around the country. And from a preliminary look at the comments, so we're still early in the process, speaking on the FDIC's behalf, you know, there's some things that are directed directly to us that we may be able to have the control to change. So to the extent that we have the ability to do that, we're committed to act early, and I think we can get back to you a little further down the road after we've had an opportunity to digest the first round of comments.
Well, thank you. My time's up, but if I could, Mr. Chairman, allow a quick response from Mr. Bland and Ms. Hunter.
Senator Crapo, I echo Ms. Eberly's comments around the spirit of cooperation among the agencies, but also a concerted effort of the current principals to affect change. With respect to the outreach sessions that Ms. Eberly referred to, Comptroller Curry is personally planning to attend a number of those to really hear directly from the bankers, but also to lay out tangible types of actions. And so there is a spirit, but also a commitment to affect change this time.
Thank you. Ms. Hunter?
And I would just very quickly add that I concur with my colleagues. We also at the Federal Reserve are committed to this process and very hopeful that we'll have some very concrete actions that will come out of it in efforts to reduce regulatory burden for small banks.
Well, thank you.
Could I add to that real quickly?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Again, Congress granted the states a seat on the FFIEC, and we really appreciate that. I wanted to update you that the CSBS is taking this seriously. We've had 3 calls on this already, and we are trying to identify outdated and burdensome regulation. And we completely agree with you. This activity must result in meaningful action and reform.
Well, I thank you all on that. Sorry, Mr. Fazio, I didn't give you a chance to respond, but I just say, let's make it right this time. Let's not make it so that the only thing that happens is the narrow band of things that everybody agrees to. Let's find a consensus of where we need to make fixes, and let's make the changes that we need to make.